Hey kids, this is Mark Arm from Mudhoney.
I'm Kevin Martin from Cannabis.
This is Nicole Alvarez from the world famous K-Rock.
Hi, I'm Dave Cruzen.
I am Matt Vaughn from Easy Street Records.
This is Richard Stuverud.
Hey, I'm James Joseph from James and the Cold Gun.
This is Jeremy Toback from the band Brad.
And this is the State of Love and Trust.
State of Love and Trust.
State of Love and Trust.
A Pearl Jam podcast.
Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Feed that algorithm.
Welcome to another episode of the State of Love and Trust. It's a Pearl Jam podcast, and I'm one of your two hosts, Jason Kerepesi, and alongside me, as always, is
Paul Ghiglieri.
Fixing my IFB here, Paul. This is industry talk. IFB. Or ears, as they call them. We're all about jargon on today's episode. I'm just kidding. How are you out there in internet land, internet podcasting land? Paul, I'm feeling okay considering we're still kind of smoldering up here.
You are, yes.
Yeah.
The important thing is that you're safe and your home is still intact, for which I am very grateful, as I'm sure you are as well.
Yes,
everybody asks me, because I used to live right down the road from you, and having relocated not too far away, obviously, into the San Diego area, folks always ask me, hey, do you still have a lot of friends, still talk to a lot of people in LA? I say, well, yeah, it hasn't been that long. I lived there for 15 years. Of course, I keep in touch with people in LA. And I say the same thing. Everybody I know had an evac bag packed by the door or in the car. Literally everybody I know. And there were a few folks that actually had to evacuate. Now, I consider myself and those that I care about deeply very fortunate in the sense that nobody that I know, like that I hung out with directly or had very close relationships with, lost their homes. That being said, though, we do know somebody in the Pearl Jam community who did lose her home. And so that's something that we'll explore and see how we can continue to support in the coming weeks. But it's still something really, really hard to just wrap your head around. And that's coming from somebody who's not living in it. I mean, for you, it's a harrowing experience. And
That's called empathy, Paul.
Well, it is. But I mean, it's like having lived there as long as I did, it was getting to a point where every year there was smoke and fires and ash, and it was like, God, man, the air quality, the index, everything else, and you felt bad. But this is the first time that I can remember that it encroached in ways that had everybody thinking I may have to get out of Dodge here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that first Tuesday night was very dicey, and I think we mentioned it a little bit on the live show.
We did.
First show of the year on the 12th. I want to say the date. As this episode comes out, it is January 21st, so we're a couple of weeks removed from that. And you mentioned Anita from 90 Original. Hi, Anita. We love you. We're talking with you, Anita, next week. Because Anita is one of those people who did tragically lose their home and everything in it. I tell you what, though, she is bouncing back. She's already got a new place. And things are firing. So we're going to talk to, that's a bad choice of words. I apologize. But things are happening. I know, right? I'm an idiot. But she's back on her feet and she's getting going. And we're going to talk to her about not only that, because all the 90s stock was in that residence, but how 90 is going to bounce back. And by the way, how did she come to own 90? This brand is 35 years old, if not longer. So we're going to find all about that next week. But this week, we're going to kind of stay on brand with that, Paul. We'll talk about this event that has impacted our lives in our playlist series that we've done a few times now. And before we get to that, though, there is some news and notes, some housekeeping to get through. And that is the usual business of, if you are watching this online, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications. And if you are listening to the dulcet tones only, not watching two tired men talk about Pearl Jam, you should what, Paul?
Well, you should rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. It's 2025, new year, new you. Feed that algorithm.
Okay, this is the time for people to take advantage of those gym memberships, right? Those deals. I think Planet Fitness is doing like a $10 down, $1 a month. Get in there.
Well, with all that extra money, you can join our Patreon and feed that algorithm. How about that?
I'll tell you what. The best thing people can do with their money right now, don't even go to the gym. You know you're going to quit that anyways. Let's throw your money to something useful. And that is our fundraiser of the month, which is Our Rescue. It is a human trafficking, sex trafficking, child exploitation nonprofit. They do great work to snuff that out of our society. And January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So go ahead and scan that QR code on your screen right now, or you can tap on the link inside of our Instagram bio. There's a link below here on YouTube as well. Now, as we always say each month, there is a little prize if you donate $5 or more, Paul, right? Do you have them ready?
I do.
Props.
Look
at that.
They're flying all over the place.
Throwing them.
Look at this.
So when we finish these episodes, you have to then you shut your computer off, and then you go, oh shit, I threw stickers all over my floor. And you got to pick them up. Well, anyways, these will be yours if you donate $5 or more. I'm sending out the December ones tomorrow as we're recording this. I will say that this is a double whammy month for us because with this tragedy here in Los Angeles, we said, you know what? Anita's a friend. 90 is awesome. Let's go ahead and make the carrot for the greatest donator a 90 original prize pack. So you get a shirt and you get a patch from 90 on us for being the greatest donator to Our Rescue. So 2 for 1. It's a win-win.
2 for 1. And you get one of these.
You had that in the chamber, ready to roll. I love it. You held back, so you had one more left. What else we got? What other things we got? Oh, yeah. Hey, here we go. One way that you can, yes, the shirt. $5 off the shirt, too, if you want to go ahead and spend $5 or more, if you want to buy a shirt. If you want to support this show, keep this thing moving along and help us invest in more great content for you, Patreon's the way to go. Great Discord channel over there. A really cool sub community has been building over the last couple of years, Paul.
Not only that, but you're going to find out today exactly what really, really cool perks come with being part of that Patreon community, because we are determined in 2025 to further embed you into the fabric of the show itself.
Here's the deal, guys. Here's the wizard pulling away the curtain. We don't know what else to say. So you're going to say it for us. I'm just teasing. No, but we really want to know what you guys have to say. So the patrons will be getting involved. Paul will explain more in a little bit. Now, there is a giveaway each month for patrons, just for being a patron is a little bit of a thank you. This month is a $30 e-gift card to our new online shop. We've got all kinds of fun threads and drink stuff and headwear for the ladies, for the kids, for the adults. And so peruse. And if you are a patron, you might win $30 off of whatever you want. So that'd be kind of cool. And it helps us reinvest in the show and do cool stuff. So that's that. Anything else I have here? No, I have nothing else in my news and notes, Paul. That's it.
Well, I think it might be worth mentioning that Pearl Jam's going on the road again, Jason.
They did. The morning of this recording, they announced Jazzfest. We some of us thought, will they do Jazzfest? There's a bit of a gap in the schedule. Could they fit it in? It's the right weekend. They could, and they did. They announced it today, so May 3rd in New Orleans. Now, some of you are not the biggest festival fans, and I could see why. It's busy. Maybe you don't like all the acts out there, and you're just going for Pearl Jam. But I'll tell you this: 1, New Orleans, what a city!
Yeah, right.
What a city. Okay. 2, Pearl Jam. I mean, anytime you see Pearl Jam is a great time. And 3, there are a lot of really cool bands out there that are performing this year. So check out that list. Actually, I'm gonna throw right now on the screen the thing there, so you can see all the bands. Briefly, Dave Matthews Band's on there, Revivalist is on there. I'm forgetting, even though it's on the screen right now, that happens in post, so I can't actually see it. But you're reading it right now, and it makes sense to you. So go ahead and go to the Jazzfest Instagram and check that out, the lineup. All right, let's get into the main topic today. I mentioned it, the playlist. We've done it a handful of times. This time, we're talking persevering, Paul. We're talking about overcoming tragedy. Mm-hmm. It's a little on brand right now. It felt apropos to do it.
It does.
I will say that we have done a couple of playlists prior that I feel like kind of sister playlists. I'm going to link them up in the corner up here for YouTubers. One is Dealing with Anxiety. That's episode 133. And Gratitude, which is 159. So if you want to go back in your podcast player and fire those bad boys up, you can after this to really get a more complete picture. But I think that it feels right. I always love doing playlists. We tend to not have very many songs similar from our two playlists. So it's always intriguing.
I enjoy it for a few reasons. Number one, I think it allows us to reconsider a lot of songs in the context of a different concept. So like you hear songs and it's difficult to see those songs in a vacuum. I mean, our live cut of the week and lyric of the week, those segments helped us do that in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. But you still see those songs within the context of the album from which they came. When you do a playlist like this, you are able to see those songs separate of those albums, and they have standalone value in a way that allows you to kind of figure out where they fit in connection to songs from other albums in relation to a theme. In this case, as you mentioned, dealing with tragedy, overcoming that level of strife and trial and tribulation. And so I end up finding new connections, new inroads to Pearl Jam's music when I consider songs in this vein. So I encourage everybody who's watching or listening, just workshop stuff like this from time to time. You know what I mean? Just think of something and start grabbing songs and put a little playlist together. Like you're feeling excited. Great. Don't just throw a Pearl Jam album on. Like actually be deliberate and purposeful. Pick songs with intention and see how those songs not only enhance that mood or that feeling, but they help provide some perspective to go along with it. So that's what I love about this fortune.
100%. And the really cool thing about this series that we've done, I don't know how many, like 8 or 9 now we've done, Paul. They prove that Pearl Jam's music is so multifaceted. And not to say that other bands you couldn't do this with them too. We just happen to know this band, we think, fairly well. And to dive even deeper or to force ourselves to, some might say, take square pegs with round holes, and all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, that square peg is pretty damn malleable. It actually fits in that square hole, that circle. Holy hell. Look at that. It works.
Not only that, but I think there's this perception that early Pearl Jam's music does not lend itself well to this playlist. This idea of dealing with tragedy and overcoming and persevering, that it's the later albums that seem to play into that as the band ages, as Eddie starts to see himself more as an advocate for, being a light, if you will, or a beacon in a dark sea. And I don't know.
I have a number of songs here that are pre-millennium. So
all right.
I think you're
like
right.
It. Good tease.
So, okay, this is always the age-old question. Who's going first?
Well, I don't know.
How many songs do you have, by the way?
I have 6.
Oh, good, me too. I think last time I had like 2 more than you somehow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I had some longer ones, though. So that may have had something to do with it. I don't remember.
Okay. What do we think? You, me?
I think Age Before Beauty.
So that's you. You done played yourself. Okay.
Oh, here we go. All right. I'm going to open up with Long Road.
Okay.
And I'm opening that up because these Santa Ana winds are on my mind right now. Because they're not just playing and wrecking havoc with the greater Los Angeles area, but they're impacting us here as well, down south of you. And not that you open, but you have a song with a lyric like this, and the winds are rolling. And the sky keeps turning gray, and the sun is set. The sun will rise another day. Will I walk the long road? Cannot stay. There's no need to say goodbye. We all walk the long road. If there is a song in the catalog that sets the stage for this playlist better than this, I cannot think of it. And I would challenge you to find one that does a better job of it. I think this song helps us understand the framework by which we're going to process tragedy and by which we're going to find the pathways towards overcoming it and finding connection and persevere, the ability to persevere, I should say, and more importantly, find a greater sense of self and purpose through those experiences. So I like Long Road here as an opening, and I think it's a perfect metaphor for tragedy itself, quite frankly.
Well, I've always told you that you're a smart man, Paul. And that's because I've also chosen Long Road to start off my playlist.
Outstanding.
Listen, man, the bell tolls, right? That was Ed in the studio, just tolling the bell for Clayton Liggett, for his drama teacher in high school. And by you and Encinitas, actually. Now, this song represents not only a scene set, as you mentioned there, but also it's this, this blank, shocked, numb feelings, that one can experience when tragedy strikes. And in this situation, in this song, emotions haven't quite come to a boil yet. There's only questions. There are no answers just yet. And towards the end of the song, and you mentioned this, there is that illusion, though, of a silver lining. And the sun has set, and the sun will rise another day. And then you've got Ed singing, "Will I walk the long road?" To which Neil Young answers, "We all walk the long road." So there is this sense of mortality. It's life. We're all in this together. We all feel the same things on the greatest plane, even if it's impossible to recognize that in that numb moment. But the foundations of life remain. Tomorrow will come, but the greater tomorrow for us individually is finite. So you got to make the most of it. So I think that you're right. I think Long Road is the obvious choice. And funny enough, I actually didn't have it as my opening song for a minute there. And when I got to, oh really?
No.
Because when I got to, I actually had it later. And when I got to, I was like, you know what? What I'm feeling from this, how could I come to this from somewhere else? I have to start here. So
yeah, and I love that it's Eddie posing the question and his mentor, if you will, providing that answer. We all walk the long road. So there's something so very symbolic about that song, both as an anchor in the Pearl Jam catalog at that point in time in their career, and also for the purposes of opening a playlist like this.
Yeah. All right, next song.
Well, from there, we're going to take a turn for the worse, and I'm going to go with "It's All Right." I love this track off Gigaton. It has that kind of haunting Pink Floyd-esque, trippy, spacey atmospheric vibe to it. But where I think it works here is in the fact that we get to a place where we start to ask ourselves lots of questions, like, what more could I have done? Is this my fault? Who should I be angry at? Now I am angry. Is it justified to be angry? And you just find yourself in this quandary or this quagmire of trying to process all these different emotions that are hitting you all at the same time. And I like this idea that it's all right to be alone. It's all right to listen for a heartbeat that's your own. And it's all right to shut down. It's all right to disappear into thin air. It's your home. And there's just something so quiet and comforting in those lyrics where it's not often in Pearl Jam's music that you're given a pass like this. They are the trumpeters of advocacy and activism on so many levels. And, there's so much of their music, especially later Pearl Jam and even early Pearl Jam, that it's just like a call to action. And to have a song like this where they allow you the grace of failure. They allow you the grace of making mistakes.
Of humanity.
Of humanity and being human about it is what I was going to say. I think that's important in times of tragedy, is that we allow ourselves the grace of being human. And that human experience is something that when you deny, it starts to, there's a dark underbelly that we have a hard time governing when you do that. So when you embrace those feelings and you allow yourself an opportunity to express them, to talk about them, to process them, to unpack them, if you will, I think it gives you a chance to feel like you're going to be all right. But it starts with being all right with the feelings that you have that, quite frankly, you don't understand yet, and allowing yourself the grace of feeling that it's okay that I don't understand how I'm feeling, that my reactions are things that I am unsure of, that I don't know if I can trust. And allowing yourself to be vulnerable, I think, is really, really important. So I like this song on the heels of long road, and I think it sets up kind of the nuance of tragedy well in a playlist like this.
So everything you just said, I 100% agree with. I feel like I need to find a place between where we both started and this point, though. I think there's one step in between for me, at least. Now, for me, that song is going to be represented by, or that emotion, that point, that space is going to be represented by the song Indifference.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
call.
you know, when tragedy has settled, there's a feeling of helplessness, perhaps even survivor's guilt, because even if you've lost a lot, you are still alive, you know? And for example, in these fires, we've had to date, as of the recording, 25 people who have died.
Yeah.
But the consolation of your life sometimes doesn't feel like much during the immediate aftermath of said tragedy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you play back all the possibilities in your mind. You know, could I have done something different? What if this? What if that? What if I wasn't on vacation? I could have been home to evacuate my house.
You go in circles, all these, right?
Yeah, you're in circles. But the reasonable you knows that sometimes life is out of your control, right? And so you feel like nothing matters, that maybe you don't matter. These feelings of despair are valid, but they're not the end. So I think there is a point where indifference allows you to get that out, because I feel like it's healthy I feel like we keep quoting react respond, but that is an appropriate reaction to a tragic circumstance, is to let something out.
Right.
You have to, it's human.
It is.
And then
I would agree with you.
You'll find that then you can find the next step. So I wanted to, like, you know what it's like? For me, you were basically doing like A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back. And I'm like, you know what? Give me Rogue One right in between. I know I'm fucking up the order of things, guys. I'm just giving you an example. The
First
offshoots.
of all, I love that movie. Rogue One is the most we're about to go off on this is
Star Wars fans are like, finally.
Yeah, we're stopping ourselves here.
You know what I mean? They're like the story between the stories.
I do, yeah.
There is a moment for me where I want to kind of find that offshoot, because I feel like Indifference. That was the first song I chose.
Oh, okay.
For this whole thing,
you could argue that indifference is the feeling, and that it's all right is the reaction to that feeling, or the response to that feeling, if you will, I should say.
Well, I have another song that's going to be a response, but all right is a great choice.
Okay.
So now I'm curious to where you're going to go out of that response after all right.
Oh, we're getting heavy. We're going with Leash.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah, and I like that pivot for this playlist, because in that moment of being lost, of being alone, of listening for a heartbeat and realizing it's your own, you realize how lost you are, but that doesn't mean that you can't be there for others. And that idea, I'm lost, I'm no guide, but I'm by your side, I think is important. And there's an anger that comes with wanting to act now and wanting to do something to help, and then but at the same time looking for somebody to blame, of course, and telling somebody to get out of my face. Yeah, I like that dichotomy there of wanting to tell the powers that be, or whomever you think is responsible, or the way that you think it's being handled, or the response is being handled, or the conditions by which you believe led to this tragedy. I think it's important to also be able to look to your neighbor and say, oh, look, I don't have all the answers, and I'm in this muck with you, but I'm here for you. And I think that as ugly as the human condition can appear when you look at a situation like this, especially when you begin to realize that there's a distinct possibility that many of these fires were started intentionally, you also see the triumph of the human spirit as well.
We've been seeing it out here, man. We've been seeing it at Santa Anita Park, the Rose Bowl, West Side. It's been really great.
It's there. And in so many ways, a place like Los Angeles, which is so very fractured. I mean, there's a great movie that came out in the early 2000s, Crash, about how you have to crash into each other to feel anything in a place like that, because everyone is so distanced from each other. It was just bizarre in a place with such urban density. That being said, though, I like the idea of being able to look around and say, I know I don't have all the answers. I can't guide you out of this, but I am here with you in this, and I'm by your side. And so I like Leash, and I like the intensity of the delivery because I think it's appropriate here.
I love it. Great choice. Excellent choice. And again, you're referencing possibly my favorite lyrics of the entire band's catalog. And I've said that before. And I'll say it again because it's fun to say. So I mentioned that my second song was a bridge song, whereas you just went right through to that response.
But you're going in a different direction than I did. So I'm curious what this, what is it a reaction to or a response to?
I feel like it's going to be a similar response as you articulated with All Right, but the song is different. And the song for me is In Hiding.
Oh.
So,
like that.
And by the way, originally it was All Those Yesterdays, and then I pivoted.
Thank you.
So In Hiding, okay. I think I know that everyone grieves in their own way. And I know for me personally that I would need some time with myself if I was one of these unfortunate people like Anita, our friend, who lost lives and memories and things and whatever. When an avalanche of emotions, including grief, happens, you're overstimulated, and any unnecessary or otherwise seemingly innocuous comment, it can just send you right over the edge. I mean, I'm a parent. We're parents. We know how that works. Being overstimulated.
Short fuses.
Can I have some milk? What did you say? Like that. You guys know. Come on, if you're parents, you know what I'm talking
Density. The unmitigated gall.
Unmitigated gall. Exactly. So I feel like when you have that stimulation of all these emotions crashing into you, I feel like some people, including me, need to exit that outside world. They need to retreat inwards. And I feel like it's not always a bad thing. And I realize that there are those, around us that might think that we're trying to enter a depression. But that isn't necessarily the case. Sometimes many of us need to process things to wrap our heads around what we've just lost or endured, And sometimes maybe we need a drink. Maybe we need a little substance to kind of remove us from the reality just for a bit, I got my little scotch right here. My children were yelling earlier, and here we are doing a little podcast. And this is how it is sometimes. Let it be known that this is not, this particular point is not to be abused, obviously. But
right.
I think the goal is to come out the other side calmer, less stimulated, and ready to accept our new reality. And maybe most importantly, to be grateful for what we have left. So I think In Hiding does a nice job of, we got to squirrel away. We've got to find our center again and come back out kind of like, okay, I think I'm ready to push forward.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. For me, I think the challenge is you begin to realize that you don't have all the answers, but that doesn't stop you from acting, right?
Yeah.
And we just talked about the triumph of the human spirit and how many stories are coming out of people giving and helping, people donating, people wanting to fix the situation. And, and we spoke about this during our live stream not too long ago, like that there is a long road ahead. You know what I mean? And I kind of unpacked a little bit of what I think lies on the horizon in terms of what those challenges look like. But that doesn't change the fact that there are still people on the ground that are very, very focused with borderline tunnel vision because they almost need to. If you're trying to help and you're getting wrapped up in all the hurdles that still lay ahead, it dilutes that feeling of enthusiasm, and it ultimately discourages you on a lot of levels. It's almost like, so you're this big dent I want to make, you're telling me is like a little tiny. And I think it's important to hold on to that enthusiasm to want to help, because when enough people do that dent grows. So when something's dark, I want to shed a little light on it. When something's broke, I want to put a little fixing on it. When something's low, I want to put a little high on it. When something's lost, I want to fight to get it back again. the Fixer, I think, is.
How did I miss this one? I didn't include this one. This is a great choice.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, it goes back to what I said earlier, this idea that you start to see Pearl Jam's songs in a vacuum when you view them through the lens of a podcast, or I'm sorry, of a, podcast like this, but also a playlist like this, because you're no longer seeing them in the context of an album or even the band in its career at that given point in time. Instead, you're seeing these songs, which is what I think you're doing and what I'm trying to do as well, within the context and through the vantage point, I should say, or from the vantage point of this theme or this motif, if you will. And when you want to fix something, you're not worried about the obstacles. You're solution oriented,
right?
And you're goal oriented, and your focus is on the objectives to produce the effect or the impact that you're driven to produce and affect. And I think a song like this really highlights that, and the positivity of the music and the upbeat tempo of the song. A song that, interestingly enough, is very, very commonly regarded by many as kind of like sticks out like a sore thumb in the catalog.
Yeah,
because it's
does.
very unlike, the vibe of it is very unlike, and lyrically it's very unlike a lot of the other songs. I mean, that usually when Pearl Jam's positive, it comes from a very like contemplative and profound place, as opposed to this. Yeah. There's a peppiness to this song,
There is.
Anyway, so I like the Fixer here.
That's a great choice. What a great choice.
Thank you.
Wonder how many of you out there were listening or watching and said, you know what? I wonder if one of them's going to say the Fixer. Well, Paul just did. It's a great choice. I am with you at this point. We're on track, I want to say 4. And I'm with you in the fact that, or in the sense that, I want a positive song. I feel like we've started turning a corner here, right? I feel like I established that my character, and in hiding, was ready to start the process of persevering. My next song is Down.
Oh,
there's no way to overcome a tragedy, to persevere without love, and there's no way to do that without loving yourself first. So you've got these lyrics here. And if hope could grow from dirt like me, it can be done. Won't let the light escape from me. Won't let the darkness swallow me. How important is this? I mean, when we recognize that there is still a reason, probably multiple reasons, to get up off of the mat and to fight to overcome, we find gratitude, And the gratitude begets self-confidence to start to rebuild our lives, to seek the help of others, or to accept the help that's been offered already. And this is such an important step. And I think Down is it's just the right song to convey that at this point in the post for me.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Very well situated.
So we're at the final 2 songs here at the playlist for us.
Yeah, we're nearing the end here. Look, a song like The Fixer it's a light song. It's a luminous song in a lot of ways. Not in its contemplative reflection, but rather in its like upbeat determination, if you will. And I think, again, there is that sobering reality that there is a lot that still needs to be done. And so those luminous thoughts that were once all we had, fading lights.
Oh no.
That lost eloquence. There's still a fire in the engine room though, huh? And we know that relief's coming soon. There's much to be done. There's much to be done, even at 7 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night, Jason. So yes, the word salad, as is commonly referred to by Jason Kerepesi, 7 o'clock makes its way onto this playlist.
Wow, 2 gigaton tracks.
Yeah, I know, right? 2 gigaton tracks. And I have a comment on that because I was actually surprised at how often I was finding myself going back to that album. Then I started, interestingly enough, doing the inverse of what I had done for this playlist, which I was looking at these songs in a vacuum and examining how they relate to this motif. And then suddenly I started realizing I was pulling songs from the same album, like, what was going on with the band at that point in time?
Yeah, no kidding.
What were they experiencing? Anyway, which I'll get to at the end of this, but go ahead.
Oh, is that it? Is that it for?
Well, yeah.
For
I mean, I think it's just that moment where you come to realize that you are making a difference And there's that moment where it's like, oh man, like there really is so much further to go. And that's where there's that desire to want to give up. That's where there's that desire to want to pull back or throw your hands up helplessly and say, you know, am I really making a difference? Or is this difference going to be impactful? You know, is it going to be long lasting? And it's just that will to push forward, that will to persevere, that resilience that comes with knowing that there is still much to be done. And I think that's an important message, and it's an important thing for us to remember, because the adrenaline is going to wear off. You know what I mean? And the feel-good stories will start to become far less prominent in whatever media thread you subscribe to. And when that happens, you're going to see a lot of the opposite, right? You're going to see a lot of the inverse, a lot of you're already starting to see it, right? With, rising rents leading to accusations of price gouging and looting and a whole host of other issues, which I'm not going to unpack right now. But if we're getting to that place, like let's remember that there's still much to be done, and let's not give up before the job is done. Well,
I'm with you. I think my next song choice kind of parallels. There you go. Mm-hmm. That idea. I'm picking a song from the same album, different song though. I'm choosing Retrograde, and I think once that we've recentered ourselves and we've found gratitude and self-confidence, and we've accepted help from our community, it's time to address the difficult task of rebuilding our lives. Mm-hmm. And sometimes tragedies feel so significant, so powerful, that they can, in the beginning at least, feel insurmountable. And I bet you there are a number of people right now, thousands, who feel like, how am I going to restart this whole thing? And this is where community comes in. We've been talking about it all playlist long. We are greater in numbers. And when we come together to address overcoming a tragedy, we find the strength in numbers. We find that our love is multiplied in that situation. This is the extraordinary love that Retrograde is talking about. And while it's talking about climate change more directly in the vacuum that you've been talking about, in this context, the extraordinary love is to help our fellow man. It's kind of stealing what you were saying with Leash, but I've applied it here in a sense. And you've got the musical crescendo at the end of the song that we always, talk about how much we love that. It really amplifies this feeling of taking on the challenge of restoring, a happy and complete life. So I think Retrograde is the right choice here.
It's an inspired choice.
Find the end of our playlist. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it a lot.
All right, last one, man.
Now that one was on, by the way. Both React, Respond, and Retrograde were on this playlist. They've since been pulled off. Mostly because I felt like they didn't. There was a redundancy to a lot of the messaging. So interestingly, Lena, I ended with another song off Gigaton, River Cross.
No kidding!
And,
holy shit!
Yeah, I know. Three. Half the playlist comes off Gigaton, which I'll get to in a second. But wide awake through this deepest night, still waiting on the sun as the hours seem to multiply. Find a star to soldier on. Won't hold us down. Share the light. Won't hold us down. How better to end a playlist like this? It's acknowledging that we are entering that deepest night, and we are waiting on the sun to rise again. And the hours do seem to be multiplying, and you find yourself looking up to the sky and the heavens, looking for some clarity, and remembering that you have to find from within and via your connection to not only the essence of the human spirit, but your greater community, both small and large. You got to share the light. You have to find a way to plow forward, to march and soldier on, to borrow a word from Eddie in River Cross, to soldier forward, to soldier on. And I think it's interesting because this playlist had me looking to Gigaton a lot. And what I found was that the Gigaton came at a point in time at the end of a Donald Trump presidency here in the United States. Mm-hmm. And Pearl Jam's response to that presidency was to open an album by telling us that whoever thought or whoever said, it's all been said, gave up on satisfaction, and they ended that album by telling us to soldier on and not be held down and share the light. And I can't help but wonder if the next album that comes out will have a similar response. Will it have a similar vibe in spirit or in theme to Gigaton? Because it's almost like deja vu in a lot of ways for the band. Or have they changed as people and as musicians in the last 8 years to the point where, or in this case, obviously, not 8 years, it'd be, well, they were recording it perhaps 8 years ago, but...
let's say 5 to 8 years. We don't know when the next album will come.
I mean, has that window
right.
caused enough change in who they are as people that their response versus reaction will be different to similar conditions this time around? And are those conditions different? I mean, on the surface they're not, and yet when you unpack them, you begin to realize, well, the next 4 years will not be the same.
Are you saying that the Donald Trump presidency was a tragedy?
I would argue the band certainly sees it that way, and,
yes.
and I would also argue that 2016 and 2020, you cannot use that as a model for what 2020 to 2024 will look like, or 2025 to 2029 will look like. I think it's going to be a different variation of similar conditions and principles, but it's going to have an impact that creates new conditions and reactions and responses, and it's going to have a pretty monumental shaping of not only the society in which we live, but the world around us. And so I'm sure the band is conscious of that, and I would imagine that it's going to somehow inform their music. And so is this a band that continues to push outward the way they did on Gigaton as an opportunity to shine that light, or is this a band that will retreat inward, similar to what we saw with Yield? Is this a band that will and even in binaural and explore darker territory or mine as yet fields of feeling that they have yet to mine and discover? I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just curious what direction all of this takes the band. But for me, I found that there is a light on Gigaton, despite the cover being ominous as it is. And there seems to be this direct call to action. And in light of the tragedy, I found that there were a lot of songs on that record. At one point in time, I had "Buckle Up" on there too. So it's like,
holy, wow!
I mean, I just kept finding myself with this record. I mean, between "Buckle Up," "River Cross," "Retrograde," 7 o'clock, and "It's All Right." I mean, I had almost half the album at some point or other was on this playlist before I finally settled on this order.
Well, the people at home listening or watching, they're gonna take something away from this with all those Gigaton songs.
Maybe
read into it what you will, people. I've got one track left, and that song,
hit me with it.
It's the culmination of all the work we've been doing through these first 5 songs.
Let me guess,
it's off
like
Gigaton. It is not.
All right, good.
This song is it's an acknowledgement of something that was foreshadowed earlier in the first song.
Okay.
The song's alive.
Oh, what an ending. Good call.
You know, we've done the work. We've made it through the roller coaster of emotions, and we've accepted the love and the assistance from friends and family and community. Gratitude level is 100 because we know that we are alive, and that is the greatest gift. You know, the road will be difficult, but with community, we can reassemble the parts that we have lost because we are alive. And it might take time. And yes, our tomorrows are finite, but the journey to totality is a gift because, say it with me now, we are alive.
We are alive.
And we have the ability to embark on that journey.
Yeah.
So that is the ultimate gratitude. And again, how many times have I put alive on a playlist because it has, from its quasi-incest beginnings,
it's
morphed
an affirming song
through the community and through the performances all these years We saw it happen live. We've all been there at some point in the journey of the evolution of that song. And now, and for 25 years at least, it has been this anthem of, guys, this is the ultimate community. This is the ultimate gift. Let's celebrate it. Everything else is noise. Focus on that. However you can champion and make that your purpose.
Love it.
That's where I'm ending it. And I think it's just a reminder to everyone. I don't know how many Southern California listeners we have who have been impacted by this, but guess what? We have listeners or viewers in the Southeast, the Midwest. There's been tons of hurricanes in the last couple of years in the South. I mean, Helene, most recently, tornadoes in Texas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan. I work in local news, and it's been happening. And I get there is tragedy everywhere. How about East Palestine, Ohio, with the trains? I mean,
and it's not always a natural disaster. It could be a kidnapping. It could be unfortunate. I mean, there's things that can just knock a community on its back and send folks reeling. So no matter how big or small the town or city is. So I think it's
and those are just within the borders of the United States.
Yeah.
Those of you living abroad, we may not personally know what minor or major tragedies you've all experienced where you guys live, but I would hope that maybe if you play these playlists or whatever your version of this is, next time you feel like, fuck, what is happening? That this come back to this, come back to Pearl Jam, but come at an intentional way, as you said.
Yeah.
Maybe a tiny bit of solace.
I love how
a little bit of community.
I for some reason I thought we were gonna have a lot of the same songs. I think Long Road was the only one that was the same.
I think you're right. I'm gonna go back through this real quick. What did you have again?
I had Long Road, Leash, Fixer, 7 o'clock, River Cross. Oh wait, hold on. What did I leave off? It's all right. Sorry, It's all right. Long Road, Leash, Fixer, 7 o'clock, River Cross.
And I had Long Road, Indifference, In Hiding, Down, Retrograde, Alive. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, let us know wherever you communicate with us, if it's in the comments here on YouTube or if it's on Instagram in the post, promoting the show or Facebook or whatever. Let us know what you think about our playlists, as I always say, and let us know what your playlist for overcoming tragedy, whatever that means to you, is. And I can't wait to find out. We mentioned at the top of the show, we are resurrecting, sort of, Lyric of the Week. It has been a minute, Paul, and
it has.
I feel like it's not dead, because when the Dark Matter tour finally comes to an end, which I will argue is probably not going to be this spring. I think there's going to be some stuff over the summer and the fall in other parts of the world. I think it's my guess. I don't know shit, but I think I'm hoping for you guys in South America. Anyways, eventually we'll bring it back to the OG version of Lyric of the Week for the Dark Matter songs and the live cut for that. But for now, we wanted to come back and kind of revisit the rest of the catalog. And we were thinking, how the hell do we do this without being redundant? And can you explain our process and what we're evolving Lyric of the Week into?
Happy to. Previous model, okay? We carve out a lyric from a song. Could be one line, could be up to 4 lines. We share that lyric. I would share it with you. You would share it with me. Every week we'd alternate. Then we would jump on this show and we would dissect that lyric or set of lyrics, and we would talk about them, sometimes in a vacuum, sometimes within relation to the rest of the song or the rest of the album, or even current events at the time. So we would reapply them, if you will. Right. And then it would lead to a live cut of the week, which we'll get to later. Right now, though, this presents us with an opportunity to reimagine this segment and do something a little bit different. Rather than localizing it to just Jason and Paul's views, thought, you know what? We have a wonderful group of members in our Patreon, It's a great community of folks who talk about Pearl Jam every day with us.
That's right.
And why not make this segment a platform for those voices? Make this segment an opportunity to analyze and deconstruct these songs in ways that allow us to view them as lyrics to live by versus just, songs to study, if you will. And it's fascinating, the stories and the experiences that many of our Patreon members shared with us when it came to the song that we'll propose, or that we'll present, I should say, in a moment. And it just helped us present or find a framework for viewing these songs through the perspectives of other people. And it was very reminiscent of Tanya Kang's book, where she took lyrics. That's Jason holding it up right there. That beautiful book right there. And she gave a platform for Pearl Jam fans through her book, I Am Mine, gave them a platform to share how lyrics in the Pearl Jam catalog resonated with them. And those lyrics became a vehicle for these very human stories. And it's in many ways an inspiration for this segment, where we're trying to use Pearl Jam's lyrics and the band's music as a platform for the voices of the members of our Patreon who dedicate themselves and commit themselves to continuing the discussion with us, which is one of the very first things that we ever asked folks to do. You go all the way back to episode 1, one of the first promos. If you'd like to continue the discussion with us,
continue the conversation.
Exactly, the conversation, and that's exactly what they do. And so they have a lot to say, and I think it shines a new light on these songs. And like I said, it brings that human experience, and it broadens the perspective and the bandwidth for the impact these songs have had. And so just think it's just a great, limitless way to look at their music.
All right. Well, let's take a look at our first song in Lyrics to Live By. All right, Paul, Lyrics to Live By this week. The song choice, Brain of J from Yield.
Love it.
So
coming out of the gate hot. Now, is there an anniversary associated with the song, Jason? Is there any sort of timeliness?
Well, it was premiered later in 1995, so it's almost a 30-year anniversary of the first live performance of the song, which I believe was in Salt Lake City on November 2nd, 1995. And I believe one of our patrons said the first time he ever heard the song was from tape trading. He was on the early chat rooms, which were called internet chat relays back in the day. I think I made a Prodigy joke on a previous episode like a week or two ago, and because that's how old I am. And you would find other people, and then you would send like a tape out, a blank tape with like a return stamp, and say, send me all the songs that you want to send me. And on it was a live cut from an audience recording of that show. And he heard Brain of J and he goes, holy shit. And we'll get to the live cut in a little bit, a little tease there.
This was Justin, right?
This is Justin Perkins, yeah. But as far as lyrics are concerned, our patrons really had some really fun connections. I'm going to read a couple of things here, and we'll respond to that. Stip, we all know Stip. Great messaging in the song too. If everything is a lie, then we don't need to try to rationalize or defend it. We can dream up something new. It does a great job introducing ideas Yield will unpack later. I love that. Derek
Stip
said,
literally, he's like, oh wait, you guys
he'll just copy and paste from his book.
You guys are going to talk about lyrics on your show? Hold my beer.
Hold my book.
Yeah. Hold my book. There you go. Hold my book. Here you go.
Hold my book.
Love it.
Derek from the great state of Nebraska. Love how Ed uses his internal vulnerability while sending a message of personal strength. So those are the lyrics I would choose. And by name, the name they gave me, I'm letting go. A lot of folks commented on those specific lyrics. Peter said, I've actually never related to this song to anything about JFK. I see that reference to Jay as just another thing that's unknown in our wacky world, another thing that takes away too much attention over things that are much more important in people's lives, adding to the anxiety like a distraction, while those with the power continue to play Monopoly in the dark. Oh, I love it. That's a great one.
Good. That's good. Even
How
Stimp
about,
was like, ooh.
I know, right? Run for my money. Rosemary said, all the way from the great country of Ireland, she says, opening lines to me, raising the question of legacy. This is interesting. What does the person or event that was so important at the time mean now, and how will that change over time? Will it have the same resonance? Will who they were be sanitized or demonized or romanticized, or will they have faded? Would we remember JFK if he hadn't have been assassinated? Is he only frozen in time for that event and everything else lost? And would our meanings be something that the figure themselves would want the meanings that are ascribed? Interesting coming from somebody overseas.
Love it.
You know, she says, these lyrics resonate with me as a reminder that the times and events we are living through are history to future generations, and the weight of our current events may be meaningless in the future, and we have no control over that. Oh, it's so heavy.
Rosemary, blowing minds over that.
Blowing minds. You mentioned Justin Perkins. He says, the song Brand of J evokes Camelot. God, our patrons are fucking killer. Evokes Camelot and the death of the American dream, and how the world will be different if we hadn't entered into what Hunter S. Thompson called fear and loathing. By the time the song finally comes out on Yield, the chorus lyrics have evolved to the whole world will be different soon. The whole world will be relieved. No longer just lamenting the past, but either hopeful or cautioning the future. The way it can be read either way fits the theme of Yield. Will we give up our minds to blind jingoism for so-called order, quote unquote, and the world being relieved is sarcastic, or, as the music feels and seems to communicate, will we pass through crucible? I feel like I should just hand the mic to these people. What do you make of this? We got a couple more things. We got one more from Johnny. I'll read Johnny's and then we'll get your take. He says he quotes by a name, the name they gave me, the name I'm letting go. He says, for me, it means that no matter where you have come from or where you've started, you ultimately make the decision of being accountable to who you want and choose to be. These lyrics are about empowerment to me. What do you make of this amazing response to Brand of J?
Well, I would say joining Patreon is about empowerment because look at this. This is outstanding.
Should I put the link on the screen right now?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do it.
No, listen. I loved these breakdowns of the song, of the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I think it paints, there's a myriad of directions that we can be going in here. We'll be here all night if we do that. So I'm going to try to really, really condense my thoughts, and because I want to let theirs breathe. If you think back to McCarthyism in the 50s and the folks that were run out of Congress and the folks that got to stay, and just the blackballing across Hollywood and all this stuff, these witch hunts. The people who voted on whether or not we should go to Vietnam or not, that started in the 50s. Okay. So like when you say, how did Vietnam start? It didn't start in the mid to late 60s. It started in the 50s, 10 years earlier with that. And what precipitated Vietnam was the death of John F. Kennedy in the early 60s. And so when you go to Dallas in November of that year and that assassination occurs, November, same month of Brain of Jay's debut in 95, you begin to see these domino effects, or this domino effect, I should say, where the people who would vote for something like this are in place. The one person standing in the way, the one person that ultimately would send us in a different direction and not concede to sending us there, or certainly not at that time, is then unceremoniously removed, and then we are in a state of war. So this idea of the state dictating path for you as a person, and you subscribing to this, and then finding yourself in a place, the name they gave me, the name I gave away, like you trying to find your own identity and find your sense of self through a global or national, I should say not global, national identity. And I think we're entering a similar condition where folks are identifying with large groups, whether it's Democrat or Republican or MAGA or liberal or whatever it is. And we run the risk of subscribing to the names that we're being given versus the name of who we are as people.
It's the control.
Yes.
Are you controlling your own
ways,
life, or are you allowing yourself to be manipulated?
Correct. So that brain of JFK was the independent thinker, because that's when you look back at his legacy. I think that's what stands out the most to me. Was somebody who wasn't afraid to think laterally and independently and make decisions against the grain. The Bay of Pigs and that whole affair, I think, is a perfect example of that. So I'm not going to unpack an entire history lesson here. But I will say that finding your ability to think critically about situations, to learn to think for yourself, this song is very much about that. And I think the Patreon listeners and viewers really touched on a lot of those ideas beautifully, far more eloquently, by the way, than I am right now. So hat tip.
But I like the history lesson nonetheless.
Well,
especially for those who are
it's not me,
abroad,
it's the pen.
who have what? It's just the pen of power. That's all that it is. All right. Well, with that, we're going to bring back the live cut of the week.
Ready to stand up!
All right. So the live cut of the week is we're going to keep it the same name because it's still the live cut of the week. But the rules have changed.
They have.
And we've said, well, you know what? It's like when you go to the bowling alley and you've grown up a little bit and they say, you know what? We're going to put those bumpers down.
Paul's self-imposed
the gutters are going to be
guardrails.
there now. There's no more guardrails.
That's right. Paul's self-imposed guardrails, where the live cut had to be from the tour, from whence the song came on the album, are no longer in place. Okay, so if your favorite version or the best version or a great or impactful or memorable version of this song happens 10 or 15 years later, it is eligible to be played in this segment now.
That's right. And so we said to the patrons, hey, tell us what the song means to you. And then also tell us one or two or whatever live performances that mean something to you, that you think stand out. Maybe you love the performance of it. Maybe you love the energy of it. Maybe you were there and it just means it has a personal meaning to you, whatever it is.
And so they gave us 7.
I think they gave us 7 performances over the years, as early as the first performance in the aforementioned Salt Lake City, and including the most recent performance in Sydney, Australia this past November.
How fantastic is that, right?
I love it. Spectrum. Every single, all in between. And there were 6 in between, 5 in between. So the idea is the patrons say, here are some great options. And we say, okay, we're going to choose one of these that we think is great.
They're all great.
But we're going to pick one of them and talk about that. And that choice is going to be...
Drum roll, please.
I feel like we're in Christmas Vacation. What's it going to be, Paul?
We're going to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah.
How often
July
does somebody
7th.
say that? Huh? That's
my
where we're
birthday.
going.
I turned 16 that day. Can you believe it?
July 7th, 1998.
Okay, so that was the 13th performance with Matt. I think it's great. I think it's high energy. I think it's palpable. It opens the show, which is one of the few times that has opened a concert. And I think that, one of the other performances that was mentioned was the first one Matt did, which is the Tibetan Freedom Concert in Washington, D.C., the month prior. That one was great. I like this one a little bit more because I feel like Matt finally got into the groove. I mean, listen, we've been over it before. He's been over it in interviews. When he got the call to come in after Jack had to leave, he had basically just a few weeks to learn, 60 songs?
Yeah.
So you were going to get a more cautious Matt. Make sure I'm getting all the things right. I'm not missing a break. I'm not missing a fill. Let me just make sure the songs are played. But by the 13th time, you're going to find your own groove, and the whole band is going to gel appropriately. And I think this performance is wow. I mean, granted, the audience recording isn't the best, but you know what? That is the essence of the song right there, my friends.
Yeah, it's raw. There's an unhinged quality to it. It's interesting because Stipp, in one of his responses, talked about how Jack's drumming was actually some of his favorite. This was some of his favorite of Jack's drumming, and that the fill into the full band during the intro was one of his favorite drum moments in the catalog period. And then the version we pick is actually with Matt. And I think what's fascinating about it is it's distinctly different. But if you compare the way this song opens, it also sounds very different than the 2018 and the 2024 versions. Mm. So I think that Matt himself has continued to play around with it. And what it proves to me is there is a versatility for how you can create a fill into the full band during the intro of this song. And because that groove, it's so infectious that it moves you in more ways than one.
Yeah. It's, I think Ed mentioned it at some point in this Dark Matter tour in 2024 last year. I don't remember what show. I remember as the bootlegs came out, I would start playing them. And so they all start kind of melding into one. You forget, when did he say that? When did he say that? And at some point he said, Matt Cameron doesn't play the same fill twice.
Right. Yeah.
And much like how, every even flow solo or live solo is different, right? From McCready. So I love that by the 13th performance here in Albuquerque, which is a really fun show. If you hadn't listened to the bootleg in a while, go find it. It's actually on YouTube, so you can actually watch it, the shaky, mid-90s, late 90s camcorder version. But you see a guy who has, at that point, understood the song and has found his sea legs and is now adding his Matt Cameron flair. And the band is fizzing. The crowd is ferocious. I mean, I believe Justin said he was there. That was one of his first shows. So he could tell you, if you ever wanted to talk to him, that it was that ferocious and crazy. So very cool. And I love that our first version of, or our first entry into this new version of the segment for Lyric and Live Cut, or Lyrics to Live By now, as we're calling it, Live Cut, are very Patreon forward. Because we appreciate you guys, and you guys have obviously great things to say. And I would say, Paul, and I think you would agree, if you think this is a great concept, come and join us on the Patreon.
Yeah.
Okay? We've got multiple
Lend
tiers.
your voice.
And not only can you be on the show in this way, but we have great chats on there in the Discord. And there's a lot of cool extra content too, extra conversations that don't make regular air.
Lots of channels, Jason. Lots of channels.
Lots of stuff. Lots of cool stuff. Well, that's the episode, gang. We appreciate you for being here. I'm going to remind you that if you're in the giving mood, as I hope that you would be, Our Rescue is our January 2025 fundraiser. It's our nonprofit of the month, and they do great work trying to snuff out sex trafficking, child exploitation, all that kind of stuff. And as I mentioned earlier on, spending $5 or more, you're going to get the sticker and pin pack. But if you are the greatest donator, you're getting a 90 original shirt and patch, because we want to have 2 wins for the price of 1. We're going to help out 90. We're going to get them back on their feet. So do that. Scan the QR code that you just saw. Tap on the Instagram link in the description of the video here on YouTube. I'm just pointing, Paul. Just scan stuff, point and click on stuff. You know, you guys know how to use the internet. Just to find the damn link. You know where it is. It's everywhere. Do that, won't you? And if you want to say thank you to us, if you want to help support this show, we've been mentioning Patreon, but we also have a shop, an online shop where you can buy some really cool merch. I believe Paul is wearing our we call it the Study of Life shirt.
There you go.
There it is.
State of Love and Trust.
There you go. And we've also got, this is the newest logo that has now become the main brand. And
I'd show it too, but I threw all of mine on the floor.
They're all on the floor. This thing is on a bunch of stuff, mugs and whatever. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, every month the Patreon, the members they get a giveaway. So someone's getting something. This month in January, it's a $30 gift card to that online shop. So if you were eyeing a beanie, we're all just pointing. Where do my hands go? I don't know.
Every time I look at you, you're pointing at something.
I'm just gesticulating. That's what I'm Italian, Paul. So are you. Well, that's what we do. Hey, yeah,
Hey,
pasta visual. So anyway, our Italian listeners are like, what the fuck are they talking about? Stop disgracing the homeland. I'm sorry, guys. So $30 gift card to the online shop. If you were a patron, it's the giveaway of the month. Anyways, there. If you are watching online, a simple free thing to do that helps us really, really greatly is to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bing bell for notifications. But if you're listening to our voices right now and not looking at us gesticulating, Paul.
Well, you should rate, you should review, and you should subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm so it doesn't point at you.
Can you imagine? We just basically said that our algorithm is Italian. Although it could be Jewish too. I mean, the Jews and the Italians are very similar. You ever
Are there any
a Jewish
other
mother and an Italian mother? They're
wonderful
very
people that you would like to stereotype before we bring this episode to a close?
I'm allowed to. I'm Italian.
Yeah, are you Jewish too?
No, but I grew up with a lot of Jewish friends, and I've met their mothers and they're lovely people, but they're very similar. Come on, Italian mothers and Jewish mothers, guys. Are we not? Come on, let's be honest here. All cards on the table. All stickers on the table. Paul can't do it because they're on the floor.
I promise I won't throw any
all
more.
stickers on the floor.
Exactly. There you go.
Anyways, I mentioned
we're off the
earlier
rails
on,
as we are always at the end of every episode.
That's the end of the show. That's the best part of the show. I would argue. It's not. End of the show, it goes off the rails. I mentioned at the beginning of the show that we're going to be talking with Anita. I'm going to butcher her last name. I swear. I'm so sorry. Stimulziak? I think it's Stimulziak. I think. I'll get it right if it's not right. Anita will be with us. She is the owner of 90 Original. You know this brand. It's been all over our favorite bands. Cornell, Temple of the Dog, Soundgarden, Mudhoney. Did Mudhoney do it? I don't know. Pearl Jam, and all the different variants. And they need our help. And Anita owns the brand, and she's lost everything in the Palisades fire. But she's on her way back. And we're going to talk about that and her entire music journey, because she is a great champion of music in our community. So we're going to talk to her next week. Be back for that. But until we see you then for that chat, you've been listening to or watching
The State of Love and Trust.